My name's Henry, and I'm a bit of a hermit who loves the call of the wild, with my trusty dog Max by my side. With his keen senses and loyal spirit, Max is my perfect partner for my wilderness escapades. This time, our adventure leads us to a secluded spot in the UNITA Reservation, Utah. As we wind our way up the mountain, the dense forest and silent wilderness wrapping us in a cocoon of solitude, a strange feeling creeps up on me. It's an eerie sensation, a silent whisper in my gut telling me something's wrong. But I shrug it off, blaming the isolation and the spooky tales I've heard about the reservation. Our camp is nestled into the watchful eyes of towering pine trees. As the sun dips below the horizon, it paints long, eerie shadows that crawl toward our humble setup. With the descending darkness, an unsettling quiet takes over, broken only by the occasional wind rustling through the trees. Suddenly, a woman's scream shatters the quiet, a sound so full of raw fear that a chill runs down my spine. Max growls, his body tense, his gaze fixed on the forest darkness. Despite the anxiety in my stomach, I decided to find out where the scream came from. Flashlight in hand, I ventured deeper into the woods. The trees seemed to close around me. The rustling leaves were the only sound keeping me company. The beam from my flashlight pierces the darkness, creating a narrow pathway of light ahead. As I break through a line of thick bushes, I find myself in a small clearing. What I see sends a wave of pure terror through me. Deer carcasses hung from trees, their bodies mutilated in a gruesome display. Fear surged as I dashed back to the campsite, my mind reeling from the grim spectacle in the clearing. Max's absence hit me like a physical blow. My heart pounded painfully against my chest. The campsite was eerily silent, the cheerful flame of our campfire casting long, flickering shadows that danced menacingly around me. "Max!" I called again, my voice raw with desperation. Just then, that terrifying scream pierced through the silence again, but it was chillingly close this time. It was quickly followed by a growl, a deep, guttural sound that vibrated through the ground beneath my feet. The primal, menacing quality of the growl left no room for doubt. Whatever was out there was not human. The fear that had been a mere knot in my stomach now enveloped me entirely, an icy shroud that made me shiver despite the warmth of the fire. Realizing the immediate danger, I frantically began to pack up, shoving my gear into the car with a haste born of pure terror. My hands shook as I fumbled with the equipment, every rustle of the wind, every crackle of the fire, making me jump. Then I heard a low rustle behind me, an intrusion into the rhythm of the wilderness. The sound seemed to amplify, the pulsating silence of the forest magnifying it 100-fold. It slowly turned around, my heart lodged in my throat. Two eyes glowed in the darkness, an eerie luminescence that sent a chill down my spine. Those eyes bored into me, holding me in their hypnotic stare, an ominous promise of danger lurking in their depths. Adrenaline coursed in my veins, propelling me toward the car. I leapt into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckle intensity. With a roar, the engine came alive, shattering the haunting quiet of the night. As I was about to succumb to my fear, a familiar bark echoed through the trees. Relief washed over me like a wave. As Max darted from the woods, his tail between his legs, he jumped into the car, his body trembling. With Max safe, I put the car in drive, eager to leave the terror of the UNITA reservation behind. I floored the accelerator, the car lurching forward, tearing away from the campsite. Even as a mile stretched between me and the UNITA reservation, a sickening feeling of being watched clings to me.
My name is Anna, and I am a college student who yearned for the thrill of the unknown. This is why, during my summer break, I chose to visit my cousin Liam. He lived on the outskirts of the Navajo reservation, a vast expanse steeped in mystery, ancient tales of shapeshifters, and a striking landscape that lured us both. Our days were sweltering, the hot desert sun blazing over us as we explored the heart of the reservation. A palpable feeling gnawed at us, the sensation of unseen eyes tracing our every move. The usually barren desert hummed with quiet energy, as if privy to a secret we couldn't comprehend. Despite the unease, we dismissed it, attributing our fears to the reservation's infamous reputation, its legends of skinwalkers playing tricks on our minds. However, a series of strange occurrences began as we journeyed deeper into the reservation. The desert breeze carried faint voices, almost ethereal, whispering tales we couldn't decipher. Our compass, a usually trustworthy guide, started spinning erratically, disoriented amidst the desert wilderness. Then, we stumbled upon peculiar tracks in the sand, animal footprints, seamlessly transformed into human prints, an unsettling reflection of the shapeshifter stories we had heard. Further into our exploration, we discovered an old Navajo hogan. It was abandoned, its wooden frame weathered by time and desert winds. The hogan stood as a silent testimony to the past, its emptiness echoing the land's mysteries. While examining the hogan, a noise from the desert made us freeze. A low, menacing growl. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows that made the desert appear even more mysterious. The growl, alien yet eerily familiar, seemed to be watching us, observing us. A part of us wanted to flee, but curiosity tugged stronger. With caution replacing fear, we decided to follow the source of the sound under the dimming desert sky. Our path led us to a trail of footprints, eerily fresh in the sandy desert. They started from the hogan and led into the heart of the desert, only to abruptly end near a solitary cactus. A trail began and ended nowhere, just like the growl that had led us here. Thus we stood, under the sweltering desert sun, next to a cactus at the end of an inexplicable trail, fear and curiosity etching a complete map on our minds. As we stared at the inexplicable footprints ending at the cactus, a sudden piercing sound echoed behind us. Whirling around, our eyes were drawn to the old Navajo hogan. A shadowy figure loomed near it, tall and thin. Its form flickered under the intense desert sun, like a mirage morphing with the shifting sands. A chill slithered down our spines, intertwining with the scorching heat of the desert. Fear, visceral and raw, seized us. Without a word, we shared a glance, and it was understood. We needed to escape. The tales we had laughed off suddenly took a horrifying form, pursuing us as we fled. We sprinted through the unforgiving desert terrain, the shadowy figure in pursuit. Its growls echoed ominously around us, a haunting soundtrack to our frantic escape. Our breaths were ragged, and our hearts hammered in our chests like wild drum beats. We ran without direction, propelled by primal fear. Once a vista of allure, the desert transformed into an endless nightmare. Just when despair began to seep into our spirits, the lights of Liam's house appeared like a beacon in the distance. A surge of hope spurred us on. We raced towards it, each stride a plea for safety. But before we could reach the house's safety, the shadowy figure lunged at us, its horrifying form expanding and contracting in the moonlight. With a final burst of adrenaline, we managed to evade the figure and cross the threshold, slamming the door behind us. Relief washing over us like a balm. Panting and shaken, we dared a glance back at the desert. There, at the edge of the reservation, stood the figure. Bathed in the harsh glow of the desert dusk, it watched us. Then, slowly, its form began to fade, devoured by the desert itself, leaving only the chilling memory of its presence.
My name's Daniel, and along with my friends Mike and Sam, we found ourselves seeking adventure in the remote junction where Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona intersect. Desolate and isolated, it was a perfect spot for 3 thrill seekers like us to spend a few nights under the open sky. Dismissing the whispered tales of shape-shifting entities and unsettling legends, we chose to brave this infamous wilderness. We began to set up our camp under the dark blanket dotted with twinkling stars. Excitement was high, mixed with a tinge of apprehension. The local myths we'd heard were creepy, but we brushed them aside. As the first night descended, things took a strange turn. The food we had securely packed disappeared without a trace. Strange, haunting howls filled the air, their source unfamiliar. The most disturbing, however, were the tracks we found around our campsite in the morning. What started as animal prints seemed to morph into human footprints. Chills ran down our spines, but we laughed it off. It was just the wilderness playing tricks on us, we thought. The second night, Mother Nature showcased her fury. A violent sandstorm rolled in, replacing the calm desert with a maelstrom of sand and chaos. Visibility was zero. The roar of the wind was deafening, and in that chaotic dance of nature, Mike was swallowed up by the storm. Once the storm subsided, the silence that fell over us was oppressive. We found Mike at the fringe of our camp, a look of terror etched on his face, rambling about a creature with glowing red eyes that stalked him through the storm. His fear was palpable, turning our blood cold. Yet we tried to rationalize it, attributing his encounter to the disorienting effects of the sandstorm. As we tucked into our sleeping bags, Mike's tale of the creature weighed heavy on our minds. His fear was infectious, and the eerie silence of the wilderness did little to calm our racing thoughts. Every rustle in the brush and every gust of wind seemed to hide a terrifying secret. The second night ended with more questions than answers. We found ourselves at the heart of the uncanny tales we had dismissed so lightly. A lurking dread had crept into our adventure, turning our brave endeavor into a chilling encounter with the unknown. The third night of our adventure dawned, carrying with it a sense of dread. In light of Mike's terrifying encounter, Sam and I decided to stay awake, keeping a watchful eye on the dark wilderness. Our decision proved to be both alarming and vital, as the moonlit night unveiled a sight that would be forever etched in our minds. In the eerie stillness, our eyes caught the chilling sight of a wolf-like creature skulking at the edge of our camp. Its eyes glowed a menacing red, like 2 fiery coals in the darkness. The sight was haunting, but what truly froze us was when it stood up on its hind legs, casting an ominous silhouette against the night sky. Then came a howl so terrifying it seemed to strike at our very souls. We realized in that chilling moment we were dealing with something beyond our understanding. As the sun peeked over the horizon, we knew we had to leave. Packing quickly, our hearts pounded in our chests. But as we started to retreat, the creature lunged at us from the darkness. Its horrifying howl echoed through the desert, the sound of our impending doom. But Sam was quick on his feet. He pulled out a flare gun from his pack and fired it at the creature. The bright light startled it, its howl breaking off mid-crescendo. Seizing this momentary distraction, we sprinted toward the car, leaving behind our camping gear and the night's memories. With the creature's bone-chilling howls still echoing in our ears, we drove off, putting as much distance between us and the nightmare as possible. The terror of the night, glowing red eyes, and haunting howls all left a lasting impact on us.
Subscribe for more stories like this. And if you liked it, please consider leaving a like.